The story begins with the male lead, Ning Yuan, suddenly waking up to the sound of a girl crying. Heavy rain pours outside the window, and the room is dimly lit. His head throbs painfully. Suddenly, a girl from the adjacent room warns him through a hole in the wall to watch out for the spiked wall behind him, and just as she speaks, that very wall begins to move. Acting on instinct, Ning Yuan hides in the corner just as the wall advances and then stops. The room grows smaller and smaller. He must either find a way out or be pierced to death. He notices the wooden window and tries to break its bars, but brute strength alone isn't enough. The girl in the next room keeps sobbing loudly, irritating Ning Yuan, who initially thinks she's playing a trick, but upon closer look, he realizes there's a spiked wall in her room too. She's a victim just like him. He sees an axe near the girl's feet and tells her to smash her window to escape, but she says there's no window in her room. So Ning Yuan suggests she pass him the axe so he can break out and return to save her. It sounds reasonable, but since they're strangers, who can guarantee he'll keep his promise? What looks like a simple escape room is actually a twisted test of humanity. The naive girl makes Ning Yuan swear that he'll come back for her. As the spiked wall begins to move again, he agrees and makes the promise. The girl tries to pass the axe through the hole, but the head of the axe gets stuck. She tries to widen the hole using the axe, but a loud crash leaves her arms numb. She now realizes the surrounding walls are all made of solid granite. Their only hope is shattered, and the girl, now hopeless, lies down, waiting for death. While complaining, she casually mentions there's an iron bed in her room. That one sentence sparks hope in Ning Yuan. As the spiked walls draw closer, both of them are about to be crushed into meat paste, and they must escape this death trap. Knowing there's an iron bed, Ning Yuan tells the girl to chop off a leg from the bed and pass it to him so he can pry open the window bars, then break the wooden roof to rescue her. It's a desperate move, but worth trying. The girl decides to trust Ning Yuan and hands over the iron bar. Using it, Ning Yuan successfully opens the window. As the spiked wall closes in, he escapes quickly. Watching him flee, the girl thinks she's been abandoned again. Painful memories resurface. Her name is Su Jin. In college, she and some friends were trapped on a snowy mountain. One senior sprained his foot, and Su Jin used traditional medicine techniques passed down in her family to treat him. The snow blocked their return route. Two teammates wanted to find another way down the mountain, but that meant leaving the injured senior behind. Kind-hearted Su Jin refused to abandon him, and their arguments reached the senior's ears. The two teammates gave up and left, taking half the food with them. Su Jin cared for the senior until his injury healed, but he started having wrong ideas. He had always liked her, and by the campfire, he confessed his love. Su Jin rejected him immediately. The nice guy turned into a madman. When Su Jin was ready to leave, she discovered the senior had taken all the food and escaped alone. She finally understood. Being kind doesn't guarantee kindness in return. As the spiked wall loomed closer, just when she thought Ning Yuan was no different from that senior, the roof broke open and light shone in. Ning Yuan reached down his hand. He hadn't broken his promise and came back for her. Su Jin hugged him tightly, overwhelmed with emotion, nearly choking him. But the joy of escaping soon turned into horror as she realized they were trapped on a lighthouse on a deserted island. Ning Yuan jumped down from the roof, and Su Jin followed with a poor landing, crashing onto him. They found a ladder, but halfway down, they discovered a missing section. With no way back, Ning Yuan risked jumping, finding the remaining part stable. He told Su Jin to jump. He would catch her. After a fierce internal struggle, Su Jin jumped. Newton must have rolled in his grave because just as Ning Yuan caught her, a loose bolt gave way and they both plunged into the ocean. Ning Yuan, a true man, protected Su Jin with his body. As they hit the water, he recalled being tied up and thrown into the sea before. He lost consciousness, but Su Jin, a strong swimmer, rescued him. She carried him to the bottom of the lighthouse, unaware that someone was watching. In a dim room, a figure appeared. Su Jin found a switch and turned on the light, only to discover a corpse. Suddenly, a man emerged from behind. She thought he was a savior, but he pulled out a knife and took her hostage. Speaking with a Hong Kong accent, he calmly said he was Zhu Yang, a triad thug. Thinking Su Jin was from a rival gang, he blamed her for bringing him to this island and forcing him into a real-life survival game. He bragged about how good he was at handling women. Su Jin revealed everything she knew, and after realizing she had no useful information, Zhi Yang turned his focus to Ning Yuan. "Alright, now I'll ask this bastard," he said. "If you dare interrupt me, I'll stab him." He kicked Ning Yuan awake, but Ning Yuan was confused, his behavior and speech like a little kid. Yes, he had lost his memory. The mighty male lead, after falling into the sea, had his intelligence dropped to the level of a primary school kid. The man standing in front of them now was completely different from the one who had just braved countless dangers, and this left Zhi Yang completely confused. Fortunately, Su Jin had a medical background and suspected that Ning Yuan's head had suffered a strong impact during the fall, leading to his amnesia. A bunch of medical terms made Zhi Yang's head spin. The whole setup seemed so ridiculous that he thought they were acting in some kind of drama, and it only made him more convinced that these two were members of a rival gang. Seeing that Ning Yuan's life was in danger, Su Jin pleaded with Zhi Yang to give them another chance. But the condition he gave made Su Jin's brain completely freeze. After all, who in such a desperate situation would risk their life for a stranger they had only only known for a few hours. Yet Soo-jin's sincere answer made Ji-young lower his dagger. Given his own experience, where even his closest brothers had betrayed him, why couldn't a stranger risk their life to save someone? Ji-young decided to spare the two of them for now, especially since it didn't seem like they were the ones who brought him to the island. After examining Ning Yuen, Soo-jin concluded that his memory had regressed to that of a 5th grade student, meaning he was now essentially a tall elementary schooler. Suddenly, Soo-jin's attention was drawn to a corpse nearby. Despite the island being extremely humid, the body was completely dry, which meant someone had moved it here. Ji-young cut open the shirt and found 4 numbers carved into the body: 0834. Both Ji-young and Soo-jin were at a loss, and the only one with intelligence had turned into a schoolboy, leaving them stuck in a dead end. What secrets were hidden on this island? The capable male lead and the stunning female lead were completely outshone by this arrogant gangster. Speaking of Ji-young's past, he was even more legendary than the infamous brother Haonan. He suspected that while he was trying to sneak across the sea, he encountered coast guards, and that's how he ended up on this island. But this guess was immediately refuted by Ning Yuen. Despite acting like a schoolboy, his brain was still sharp like Detective Conan. The corpse with the numbers in the ice room seemed to point to a room escape game setup. Ning Yuen guessed that only by continuously finding clues could they escape the island. The lighthouse's staircase had been blown apart, the ladder shattered, there was nothing left to explore there. Soo-jin took another look at the corpse and found a tightly rolled paper hidden in its ear. On the small piece of paper was a map of the entire island, with one of the lighthouses marked with a red X. Ning Yuen suddenly felt like he had seen this map before, but the pain in his head forced him to give up trying to remember. After resting overnight, Ji-young woke them up and led them toward the lighthouse with the red X. Afraid of Ji-young's temper, Soo-jin and Ning Yuen had no choice but to obey. Not long after setting off, the trio stumbled upon a trap in the ground, confirming their suspicion that others were on the island, and likely not friendly. Ji-young, well versed in the law of the jungle, knew that here there were no humans, only hunters and prey. With one woman and a mentally regressed man as the tough gangster, Ji-young naturally took on the role of the boss. He gave his underlings tasks to forage for food in the jungle. Though Ning Yuen had lost his smarts, his skills remained, and with Soo-jin's medical knowledge and the wisdom of the Miao people, they quickly gathered plenty of food and herbs. Full and satisfied, Ji-young looked at the curvy Soo-jin and suddenly had wicked thoughts. He pulled her close and ordered Ning Yuen to guard outside the cave. But upon hearing Soo-jin's cries, Ning Yuen couldn't stay put. Bursting in, he interrupted Ji-young, who was furious and kicked him violently, sending him flying like a spinning top. Still, Ning Yuen didn't run away. After all, the three of them were teammates. For some reason, the word teammate touched Ji-young more deeply than any mention of a woman. He thought Ning Yuen was going to launch into some passionate speech, but instead, the former gamer began ranting, "As an RL, even if I don't deal much damage, my job as commander is crucial. In hard mode, one wrong command means the whole team wipes. So when I saw the warrior attack the healer, how could I stay quiet?" After hearing this ridiculous monologue, Ji-young threw a dramatic anime-style punch and stormed out of the cave. What a tsundere! Just as he was lost in thoughts about teammates, a voice suddenly called for help near the trap. The three of them rushed over to spy on the scene. A panicked middle-aged man had fallen into the trap, and before they could act, a tribal-looking man with a stone axe approached. Despite the man's desperate pleas, the native showed no mercy and killed him on the spot. The gruesome sight made Soo-jin faint. The events on the island were becoming more and more mysterious. Just when the heroine's figure seemed spicy enough, the production team introduced this sister to blow our minds even more. The eerie jungle wasn't just full of traps, it also had bloodthirsty locals who might eat you alive. The island was far more dangerous than Ji-young had imagined. After a nerve-wracking night, Ning Yuen and Soo-jin tried to collect coconuts in the morning, when suddenly a mouse climbed onto Soo-jin's leg. She screamed, and Ji-young appeared instantly to protect her. His words were tough, but he had secretly been guarding them all along. Caught in the act by the innocent Ning Yuen, Ji-young blushed. Truly, a textbook tsundere. The scare made Soo-jin suddenly need to pee, so she rushed into a bush. But as she was pulling her pants up, the tribal warrior attacked again. Hearing her scream, Ning Yuen and Ji-young arrived just in time, but it seemed they wouldn't make it before the native smashed Soo-jin's skull. Just then, a gunshot rang out from the forest. The native collapsed instantly, and another one fled in terror. Still trembling, Soo-jin looked up to see a bombshell of a woman walking toward them, holding a giant gun. She introduced herself as Tracy. A police officer from Los Angeles crashes into a group of thugs, and just Ray's bro finds himself face to face with an opponent. But there's something about this woman that feels strangely familiar. His cliché flirtation tactics, of course, don't impress Trish at all. When he checks the nearby native corpse, he realizes something odd. Though he aimed at the head, the bullet hit the torso, which shouldn't be possible given his championship-level shooting skills. Before Trish could make sense of it, a group of natives charges back in, forcing them to flee without time to question the details. Trish uses the terrain to cover the three of them with gunfire, and even as she's the last to fall back, her figure turns the moment into a striking sight. They agree to regroup at the west side, but after waiting for a long time, Trish Trish still doesn't show up. As an old hand of the underworld, Just Ray's bro gives the two rookies a heads up. Never trust anyone on the island and never reveal the map or password. When Just Ray's bro invites them to team up, Sujin hesitates, leaving the decision to Ning Yuan. Addicted to the internet and thinking an extra hand means more power and better synergy, Ning Yuan quickly accepts. The trio bonds in the west, swearing brotherhood. Just then, Trish finally returns and informs them of other survivors nearby, leading them across a steep cliff to a cave where people from all over, Taiwanese, Japanese, and more, have gathered. Just Ray's bro immediately dislikes a slick British guy, but the Japanese leader, Ishihara, steps in. Ishihara, a big capitalist, is now the leader of the survivors and has set up rules for the group. Those with abilities have roles. Trish, for example, is the rule enforcer. Seeing Ishihara's gun, Just Ray's bro backs off. After introductions, they meet Taiwan's Oda and the flamboyant British Romeo. Ishihara is shocked at Ning Yuan's name and curses, but laughs when Sujin explains the backstory. Trish shares that they discovered a large structure an hour away, like a Mayan pyramid deep in the jungle, surrounded by roaming stone natives and filled with thrilling escape rooms. What's the connection between them all? Ishihara wants to investigate the pyramid, but there's disagreement within the group. Play it safe or take a risk. To settle it, Ishihara calls for a vote. Just Ray's bro and Sujin abstain, while Ning Yuan supports the exploration. With Trish and Ishihara also in favor, Odie and Romeo are forced to agree, but Just Ray's bro suddenly retracts his abstention, claiming he never officially voted. Ishihara allows it, and Just Ray's bro sides with Romeo, deadlocking the vote. This move was a test of Ishihara's leadership. Being a top executive, Ishihara initiates a second round of voting and launches a campaign. His offer, $10 million to anyone who supports him. The offer is too tempting, and even Romeo begins to waver. Noticing the shift, Just Ray's bro starts his own campaign, ordering his two boys to back him, gaining Sujin and Ning Yuan's support. Now, needing just one more vote to win, he promises each voter $30 million, money that Ishihara would have to pay. Why? Because Just Ray's bro is gambling on someone in the team being greedy. If Ishihara wants to go to the pyramid, he'll have to raise the price and buy loyalty. No matter what, the group will end up going. But for those on the fence, switching sides now means guaranteed cash, unless Ishihara doesn't really want to go or isn't as rich as he says. With that, the campaign ends. Just Ray's bro pretended to oppose, but really, he just wanted to squeeze Ishihara. And finally, the greedy one is revealed. Romeo, previously at odds with Just Ray's bro, suddenly switches sides. The mood flips instantly. Will Ishihara raise the stakes to keep control of his plan? Forced to adapt, Ishihara agrees to pay everyone $30 million. On the way to the pyramid, Just Ray's bro watches Trish's graceful figure and smirks. He whispers something in her ear, and Trish's expression changes instantly. She drags him into the woods. Whatever he said gets him slapped hard across the face, leaving the others completely baffled. But for Just Ray's bro, the slap is proof of success. He hit a nerve. After a long journey, they arrive at the Mayan Pyramid, a landmark of South America. Everyone suspects they've been taken to a tropical island. The deeper they go into the structure, the stronger the fear grows. What force brought people from all over the world to this place? Sujin grows more and more afraid, but Ning Yuan's innocent personality soothes him. Just Ray's bro, uninterested in childish joy, notices evidence that someone camped here recently, and batteries scattered on the ground. The answers must lie within. They divide into two teams, one for exploration, one for support. Ishihara, Odie, Trish, and Sujin go in, while Ning Yuan and the rest stay behind. Sujin, nervous about being separated from his friend for the first time, watches as the others disappear. Meanwhile, greedy Romeo tries to partner with Just Ray's bro to squeeze Ishihara for more money, but Just Ray's bro's cryptic reply is Daga ku tuo walu. Pulling out, with a knife in his hand, he threatened Romeo to hand over his check because from the very beginning, Zi Young-ge had only ever treated him like a pawn, using him to his advantage, squeezing him dry with expert-level manipulation. And even when playing dirty, he played better than anyone. In just a few lines, Zi Young-ge had already made $60 million, and it felt like the only thing he hadn't done was open a class on how to master human nature. Now all Romeo could do was shout some threats, but Zi Young-ge didn't care at all because he had already seen through it. Shi Yuan's so-called democracy was only possible because he had money and because everyone was still alive. A gangster with education was far scarier than a regular one, and Zi Young-ge, who could read people like books, was exactly the kind of person everyone wanted to follow. On the walls of the pyramid were ancient texts that made Shi Yuan and the others extremely excited, except Sujin, who had no mood for wonder because he had poisoned Zi Young-ge at the start. Back then, when Zi Young-ge tried to take advantage of Sujin, he hadn't expected that Sujin, being from the Miao tribe, had a protective insect charm hidden in his hair tie. Once poisoned, a man would surely die within 7 days. Luckily, after their pact, Sujin secretly gave him the antidote, though the aftermath of the detox came with agonizing stomach pain, which is why Sujin remained worried. Meanwhile, Zi Young-ge really started feeling the effects. Just as a large group of natives charged toward them, Ning Yuan and Romeo Romeo immediately fled, but Zi Yonggi doubled over from the pain, couldn't move at all. He thought this would be the end of him, until Ning Yuan suddenly came back and lifted him up, helping him through the storm of arrows as they ran toward the pyramid. But Romeo had pulled a trap mechanism, and the stone doors were quickly sealing shut. Braving the risk of being beaten for it later, Ning Yuan and Zi Yonggi barely made it inside in time. Meanwhile, their clueless teammates stumbled and fell, and although the gold-crowned man dodged the natives, they all ended up trapped inside the pyramid. Just as things calmed, Sujin realized Ning Yuan had been cut on the arm by a native's sword during the escape. Worse yet, that sword was poisoned. When Sujin sliced open the swollen wound, no blood came out. It turned out to be a rare, deadly neurotoxin. If the bruising spread to the heart, not even a god could save him. He estimated that Ning Yuan had maybe a dozen hours left to live. Because he was hurt while saving him, Zi Yongge insisted he had to do something, but the stone doors were sealed tight, no way out. Though Ning Yuan was just a schoolboy, he showed no fear of death, which made Shayuan suddenly see him in a new light. Despite looking ordinary, Ning Yuan had the strongest survival skills of them all. Shiyuan changed the plan. They now had just 12 hours to find a way out. One of the weaker teammates cried and refused to go along, wanting another group vote. But this time, everyone else agreed, and voting no longer worked. Following a beam of light, they thought they found the exit, until the next second left them stunned. Glowing stones lit the dome above. The floor below was swallowed by roaring waters, and only a few tall stone pillars remained. Ning Yuan clutched his head. This scene looked so familiar. Suddenly, a cry for help echoed across the water. 4 people clung together tightly as the water kept rising. The stronger one, a blonde man, said the bald professor in his arms could read the ancient language and knew where the exit was. Upon hearing this, Shiyuan's group had no choice but to help. They tied bricks to ropes, and Audi, a basketball player, threw it with perfect precision to the blonde man. The 4 were finally rescued. After thanking them, the blonde man explained the situation. Last episode, a curvy woman appeared, and now a burly man showed up. Russians truly were a battle-hardened people. The blonde introduced himself as Andre, an Israeli mercenary. The 4 came from all over. Ding Hechun, a comedian from Kinmen, Felika, a housewife from New Zealand, and the bald archaeologist was named Dio. Dio told them, based on the wall text, the exit was at the top of the dome. They'd have to wade through water and climb the tallest stone pillars to get out. Around the room were several water inlets that activated every 10 minutes, causing the water level to rise. At every interval, they needed to reach a specific height, and only by climbing in sync with the water's rise could they escape. The challenge wasn't just finding the right pillar in time, but also helping weaker members safely climb. Just then, the water inlets activated, and the powerful surge could shatter rock. The group began to panic, but suddenly, Mingyuan spoke up, and Dio had an epiphany. They had been overwhelmed by the number of pillars. The solution was right in front of them all along. They just thought too much. The difference in height between the steps was only 10 meters, and based on the rising water, if the strong climbed first and pulled the rest up with ropes, they could do it. But another problem remained: choosing the order. Those going last would face the highest risk. Romeo stirred trouble again, suggesting they draw lots, clearly intending to abandon wounded Mingyuan. Ji Young-ge exploded with rage and drew his knife, ready to kill Romeo, but Andre and Trish held him back. In that moment, their eyes met, and something told them they had guessed each other's true identities. Shiyuan had no choice but to accept drawing lots. Su Jinyi and Mingyuan ended up near the end of the line, but the worst off was housewife Felika. She drew last. Shiyuan stepped up and gave her his spot. Just then, another round of water burst in. The race began. Andre was off like lightning, faster than anyone, like a fish in water. He climbed the pillar and quickly pulled Felika up. With help from Audi and Zi Young-ge, the others followed. Only Shiyuan remained. As the water surged again, Andre and the rest managed to pull him up just in time. During their short break, Dio shared his pyramid discoveries. They really were in South America. The Mayan text spoke of a rival race called the Gui Long, and the island's stone-skinned natives were either their abandoned slaves or food. In the Maya classic records, Gui Long also meant extremely intelligent snake spirits. Everyone was chilled to the bone. Could that be what was waiting for them deeper inside? Is there truly some kind of mystical force behind all this? What's even stranger is that the mysterious and advanced Maya civilization had black technologies, many of which were said to be modeled after an ancient race called the Yilon. There were even legends that the Yilon people possessed eternal lifespans, practically immortal beings that never aged or died. Later chronicles recorded that these Yilon people, along with the island they lived on, mysteriously vanished 1,500 years ago. Hearing this, a sharp pain suddenly shot through Ningyuan's head, like he had heard this legend somewhere before. At that moment, the water inlet reactivated, triggering another intense escape. Everyone ran toward the second stone pillar, getting closer to the exit, but then old Ding noticed a door right in front of them. According to the mural inscriptions, the exit was supposed to be at the dome, so what was this door doing here? Dio suddenly felt uncertain, while Andre and Ishihara insisted on sticking to the original plan and heading for the highest stone pillar. But Ningyuan offered a different perspective. Once they reached the top, both their current and that upper platform would be submerged, and the safe time on the highest point was only 20 minutes at most. If the water kept rising after that, the entire space would be underwater. Now, the group had multiple options, but no matter what, only one real exit existed. Andre and Ishihara stayed firm on their plan. They had no choice but to gamble everything. But just as they began their final climb, Jiyoung slipped and fell, dragging OD down with him. With 2 fewer people to help, Andre's speed dropped drastically. Then, unexpectedly, Rika, driven by curiosity, opened the stone door on his own and instantly disappeared inside. Another stone door in the distance opened. When Dio approached, he realized a person had to be sacrificed atop the stone pillar to activate the true exit. Curiosity had indeed killed the cat. Thanks to Rika's sacrifice, the drainage system began operating. If they followed the dropping water levels, they could return to that previous stone gate. But like draining a bathtub, a massive whirlpool formed. And since they couldn't tell which way the pillars were facing, they had to stay underwater the whole time. OD suggested everyone hold on to the same rope. With no time to waste, they jumped into the water together. Weak old Ding couldn't fight the whirlpool and began to pass out, but at the edge of unconsciousness, he saw his master's face in his mind. With that final burst of survival will, he was pulled to safety. Finally, the group reached the stone door and escaped, but the stone ape tried to devour Rika's door. The true reason it tried to change the sequence from the beginning was now exposed. Human bones scattered around, and even a shed snake skin formed by a century-old serpent atop a horse showed they had entered the next test, not the final exit. Ningyuan's condition worsened, and he began to ramble. Jiyoung tried to carry him, but Andre seized the rope instead. This tense moment ended with Jiyoung reluctantly giving in. Then, a massive altar appeared before them. Jiyoung, desperate to save everyone, rushed up first and found a door at the top, alongside a human-shaped pit. According to Dio's reading, someone had to lie in the pit to open the door. Trish lay down, and the door opened, but once she moved, it slammed shut again. Another sacrifice was needed. Someone suggested placing a similarly heavy stone to trick the mechanism, but the stones had all turned to dust with age. The only option left was to leave someone behind. Romeo spoke up, suggesting they leave the now gravely ill Ningyuan, and Ishihara supported the idea. To these capitalists, everyone was just a tool. Ishihara pretended to be fair and proposed a vote. The one who should have been the angriest, Jiyoung, was strangely silent. The vote was overwhelmingly one-sided. Only Sujin, Jiyoung, and Andre, the soldier, voted against sacrificing Ningyuan. Just as the decision was finalized, Jiyoung drew his dagger. "If you want to hurt my brother, then step over my dead body." Though Triad Thug was once a slur, in this moment, facing so-called police actors and corporate bosses, he showed the most humanity. Who wouldn't want to call such a man Big Brother? Soldier Andre, unwilling to abandon comrades, stood firmly by Jiyoung's side. At that moment, when the Triad and Soldier united, no one dared argue. Romeo, who'd just been loud and obnoxious, was grabbed and taken down by Jiyoung in one smooth move. Jiyoung proposed leaving Romeo instead and asked if anyone objected. This little act perfectly struck the hearts of everyone present. Trish and Ishihara were already sick of Romeo's constant whining and negativity. When the stone door opened, everyone walked down the corridor and finally saw daylight again. Sujin began looking for an antidote for Ningyuan, guessing that the sword had been coated with snake venom. Where there are venomous snakes, there's always an antidote nearby. Sujin's masterful healing stabilized Ningyuan's condition. Jiyoung and Andre carried 2 stones, planning to go back and swap Romeo out. How could anyone not admire such a man? Strong, but gentle. Then, Ishihara noticed the strange energy between Andre and Trish. Was there a hidden story there? Jiyoung's rescue plan failed. Romeo woke up alone, and the moment he stood up, the stone door slammed shut. You had your chance, and you wasted it. As he cried and begged, a huge black shadow appeared. A gut-wrenching scream echoed in the darkness, and then silence. Back in the pyramid, Jiyoung and Andre heard the scream. Andre, realizing Romeo was beyond saving, decisively dropped the stone. The man who swore never to abandon a teammate had finally surrendered to the truth. Meanwhile, under Sujin's treatment, Ningyuan slowly recovered, but then old Ding brought a giant monster back to the group, and when he and OD carelessly engaged it, OD slipped and fell off the cliff during their escape. The fate of old Ding hung in the balance as he tumbled helplessly onto the ground, seemingly doomed to perish in the snake's belly. But Triss soared through the air, firing consecutive spear shots that carved out a chance for Ding's escape. The giant snake's tough, thick scales still relentlessly pursued them all, and in the dire moment, only one Yang Ge leapt up with a powerful kick before engaging the snake in a fierce struggle. Yet how could an ordinary man withstand such a beast? One Yang Ge was flung by the serpent into a cliffside. The snake swallowed a blade from one Yang Ge but then slunk away in defeat, while miraculously, the man who fell off the cliff was completely unharmed, and even managed to save the unconscious Audi. Unexpectedly, a huge leech latched onto one Yang Ge without his knowledge, and when he tried to pull it off, Audi stopped him, saying it must be burned away. Following this advice, the leech dropped, but then one Yang Ge spotted another attached to Audi's neck. Only after taking off his clothes did they realize that a leech had already set fire to his back and burned away the parasite. Purple bubbles floated from the woods as the once brave Wanyang suddenly lost his wits and poked a bubble, releasing a fragrant scent that instantly knocked out the lively Hong Kong and Taiwan treasure zoo. Experienced Su Jin immediately recognized these as condensed battle energy spheres, so the slumbering pair were not in serious danger. After revealing their true forms, the group finally had a moment to breathe. But then the natives launched an ambush again. Countless green arrows encircled them, and a native man slowly approached and surprisingly spoke, noting that the whole world was speaking Chinese. The man spoke of a one-eyed elder who spoke the ancient Yilong language, possibly Dio's university professor, a tribal king now relying on a Chinese female student to survive. The mysterious power from the east was finally about to show its might. Dio's university teacher had visited this island years ago and saved many natives, earning a reputation as a divine healer. But strangely, in Dio's memory, his teacher never left France for long, so how could he have traveled to a remote South American island to heal the sick? The group was taken back to the natives' lair, where the chief revealed their purpose, to treat his father's illness. Only Su Jin knew a bit of medicine and became everyone's hope, but the deadly problem was the extreme male supremacy in the ancient Yilong culture. Women were forbidden not just from healing, but even from sitting at the table, angering the natives. Then an old man babbled something to the chief, then spoke perfect Chinese, inviting Su Jin and Dio into a tent. This withered old man was the very chief who lacked sufficient governance. After a preliminary examination, Su Jin suspected the chief had malaria, a disease easily cured with modern medicine. But on this isolated island, no malaria medicine existed, no quinine. Fortunately, Su Jin thought of extracting quinine from cinchona trees, which should be common in the tropical island. The chief agreed to send 3 people out to collect the medicine while others remained as hostages, threatening death for all if the medicine did not arrive by morning. Joined by armed Triss and the strongest fighter Andre, the trio set off. Meanwhile, the captive group wasn't idle. Dio began decoding the native language and found that colonialists had landed here years ago, capturing many natives and taking them to the island's volcano, never to return. The revered one-eyed elder was actually a colonialist, the first to emerge from the volcano and cure a local plague. Later, a fleet revisited the island, taking the elder away. Hearing this, Dio shivered as a terrifying theory took shape. Maybe his teacher was not dead. The ancient Yilong civilization was obsessed with immortality, a temptation irresistible to the half-buried elder. The teacher had secretly studied Yilong culture with a private institute. Before his death, one day Dio visited and witnessed his teacher demonstrate a fake death drug using his dog, controlling life and death freely, setting the stage for his later demise. Dio suspected the teacher faked death to deceive the world and secretly researched the island. This hypothesis was confirmed by Ning Yuan, who believed uncovering the teacher's backers could explain why they had been brought to this island, questions that could only be investigated after curing the chief. Amid heavy rain, Su Jin and the 2 companions finally found cinchona trees and collected bark, but Andre suddenly noticed Triss aiming a gun at him. Pulling the trigger, a beast behind Andre fell dead, but the treetops revealed countless creatures with eerie red eyes, ferocious monkeys. As dawn broke, Ning Yuan and others were brought to an open field for execution. Seeing sharp wooden stakes, Old Ding's legs gave out and he collapsed, wetting himself from fear. His cowardice sparked the natives' fury, and he was sentenced to execution, about to be turned into a human skewer when Su Jin and his team returned with the sunrise. Under treatment, the chief's condition improved, and Su Jin generously shared the prescription, widening the scope of possibilities. In gratitude, the one-armed old man revealed secrets might lie within the volcano, explaining the monkey encounter earlier. The one-armed man told them those zombie-like monkeys had been imprisoned beneath the volcano but were released due to colonial intrusion. Worse, anything bitten by the monkeys became infected and zombified. A heated discussion broke out among them about these zombie monkeys, but in a crucial moment, a 5th-grade student came forward to explain the link between the undead and the teacher, suggesting the island's research into immortality had begun and all answers awaited at the volcano. Meanwhile, the man with half his face constantly watched them without rest. The moment just passed, and the gambler known as the Two-Faced Man had bet that Ning Yuan and his team would return alive. And indeed, he won a rare Southern Song pearl, but to him, money was dirt, and he casually gave the precious gem to the girl beside him. The mere existence of these people proved that Ning Yuan and the others had truly been dragged into a deadly squid game, and the gambler continued to bet that Ning Yuan would not lose. Why he was so confident remained a mystery, but what shocked everyone even more was that Dio's own teacher was here too, one of the gamblers in this deadly game. Their conversation revealed the deep connection between the gambler and Ning Yuan. Just then, a long-haired man burst into the room, making the whole story even more confusing. Back on the island, Ziyang Ge spotted the one-armed man's tobacco pipe, or aguai, and immediately rushed over to take a puff. That single puff sent his senses soaring, making him feel like he was in heaven, his entire body filled with a childlike purity. As Ning Yuan tried to gather more information about the colonizers, Trish suddenly exploded with with energy, attracting everyone's gaze. Even grade schoolers and college girls couldn't look away, but the native big brother remained unmoved, showing just how different their ideas of beauty were. After healing the chief, Ning Yuan and his group were treated like honored guests, enjoying big bowls of wine and huge slabs of meat. Excited, Andre challenged the native big brother to an archery match. If he won, he'd take some crossbows. If he lost, he'd give up his hat. The bold Russian took off his hat, revealing a head of golden hair, and regardless of the outcome, he gave his hat to a friend, then raised his bow and shot an arrow that split the native's arrow mid-air, winning the match. Calmly, he took out a green hat. Even the grade schooler was completely won over, but the native pipe's strength proved overwhelming, knocking Zhu Yangge out until nightfall. He woke to the sound of laughter and feasting around a bonfire and wanted to join, but from the bushes came a chilling sound. Zombie monkeys and ghost horses swarmed in. The native big brother and Andre immediately drew their bows and shot down too, but a bitten native nearby couldn't be saved. If left alive, he'd become infected, so he had to be cremated at once. But the native big brother refused. According to their Gu Yi long tradition, only burial was worthy of a warrior's death. He told the one-armed man that he'd dismember the infected man before burying him, so even if zombified, he couldn't rise again. Yet this very act awakened his fatherly love. Just as he was about to proceed, the native suddenly turned into a zombie, bit the big brother, and escaped. The bioterror crisis had begun. When they found the native big brother again, he had already cut all the flesh from his palm. When questioned by the one-armed man, he claimed he had just fallen and hurt his hand. The one-armed man saw through the lie but said nothing. And so, one man's silence doomed the entire village. The tribe was now clouded in a heavy atmosphere. The poet suggested they leave at first light, but the night ahead would be anything but peaceful. The one-armed man, a survivor of the last ghost horse battle, couldn't bear to remember the past horrors. Though the ancient curse was lifted, it brought with it a more terrifying force from the volcano, something that could turn humans into immortal zombies. Was this the failed product of his experiments? The outbreak had started, and the mysterious virus that zombified people had originated from monkeys. Behind all this was the pursuit of eternal life. After GK emerged from the volcano, ghost horses appeared in the forest, infecting countless natives and turning them into rotting undead, one of whom was the one-armed man's son. To save him, he had been scratched and ultimately cut off his own arm to stop the virus from spreading. The blood-red moon hung like a sickle, hinting that even worse disasters were near. Zhi Yangge stared silently at the night sky, unable to speak. After the restless night, everyone prepared to leave. Just then, the natives' new king initiation ceremony began. The one-armed man passionately invited them to stay and watch, and since they were on someone else's land, they couldn't refuse. The old chief slit his wrist and poured a bowl of fresh blood. The previously bitten native big brother drank it in one gulp. Suddenly, the one-armed man laughed loudly and shouted to the whole tribe. The native big brother was about to mutate. It turned out that in a bid to become chief, that native had once lured the one-armed man's son to eat zombie organs, causing the disaster years ago. Now, the one-armed man had used the same trick, smearing zombie innards inside the blood bowl. Crying out in anguish, he had finally avenged his son. The maddened native big brother gave one final command: to kill everyone on the mountain, then fully transformed into a zombie and devoured the chief in one bite. Ning Yuan and the others fled in panic. Could they survive this massacre? A once prosperous tribe descended into bloody chaos. In the thick jungle, the group got separated. Only Ning Yuan, Dio, and Old Ding remained. Suddenly, Sujin ran toward them with two natives chasing her. Dio pulled Ning Yuan into the grass to hide. The two natives argued. One said they couldn't kill someone who had once saved the village. The other feared defying the chief's order. In the end, they didn't hurt her and pointed the way to the volcano. Seeing Sujin safe, Ning Yuan finally breathed a sigh of relief. So if you liked this anime and want a part 2, let me know in the comments. I'll upload part 2 right away.